Here's the thing that's eating me alive right now, and I need you to understand how serious this is. If the Blue Jays give Kyle Tucker that massive extension, Bo Bichette is gone. Not maybe gone, not possibly gone. He's gone forever, and I don't think people are fully grasping what that means. We're not talking about losing some random player or a veteran on the decline. We're talking about losing a 26-year-old homegrown superstar who could be the face of this franchise for the next 15 years. And once he's gone, he's never coming back. You don't get a second chance at this. Let me walk you through the math here because the numbers tell the whole story. Kyle Tucker is going to demand $400 million minimum. That's not speculation. That's reality based on what comparable players are getting. Now, the Blue Jays have money, sure, but they don't have unlimited money. They're not the Dodgers. They can't just throw $400 million at Tucker and then turn around and give Bo $350 million. The payroll doesn't work. The luxury tax implications don't work. The roster construction doesn't work. You physically cannot sign both of these guys to mega deals and still field a competitive team around them. So if Tucker gets his $400 million, Bo walks. It's that simple. And here's what kills me about this. Bo Bichette isn't just some guy they're letting walk. This is a player they drafted. His dad played for this organization. He literally grew up in and around the Blue Jays. He came up through their system, became an all-star, became beloved by the fan base, and was instrumental in getting this team to the World Series. He represents everything you're supposed to value in player development and organizational culture. And they're about to throw all of that away because they got starry-eyed over Kyle Tucker. Now, I get the argument for Tucker. He's incredible. He's one of the best players in baseball. On pure talent, he's probably better than Bo right now. But here's what that argument ignores. Bo is younger. He's got more team control potential if you extend him now. He's already acclimated to Toronto. He knows the city. He knows the pressure. He knows his teammates. There's value in that continuity that you can't measure on a spreadsheet. When you let Bo walk and bring in Tucker, you're gambling that Tucker adapts seamlessly and produces at the same level in a completely new environment. What if he doesn't? What if the pressure of that contract gets to him? What if he hates playing in Canada? Then you've lost Bo for nothing. Let me tell you what's going to happen when Bo leaves. He's going to sign with Boston or Atlanta or the Yankees, somewhere in the division or a direct competitor, and he's going to absolutely rake. Because that's what elite young players do when they leave struggling situations and go to well-run organizations. Bo's going to hit 300 with 30 home runs and be an all-star every year, and Blue Jays fans are going to have to watch it happen. You're going to see him in that Red Sox uniform coming into Rogers Center, and the place is going to lose its mind. Half the crowd will be booing him even though they loved him 6 months ago, and the other half will be sick because they know it didn't have to be this way. And here's the part that really stings. This isn't a situation where Bo demanded out or wanted to leave. By all accounts, he wants to stay in Toronto. He said the right things. He's been a good teammate. He's embraced being a Blue Jay. But the organization is essentially pushing him out by prioritizing Tucker. They're telling him through their actions that he's not the guy they want to build around long term. How is Bo supposed to feel about that? You think he's not going to remember that when other teams come calling with huge offers? You think he's going to give Toronto a hometown discount after they made it clear he's plan B? Let's talk about the on-field impact of losing Bo, because it's massive. He's your starting shortstop. Shortstops who can hit are rare. They're incredibly valuable. If Bo walks, who plays short? Are you trading for someone? Are you signing someone in free agency? Either way, you're spending more money and prospects to replace a guy you already had. That makes no sense. You're creating a hole just to fill another hole. That's not smart roster construction. That's panic moves masquerading as aggressive team building. And here's something else people aren't talking about. Chemistry matters. Clubhouse dynamics matter. Bo and Vlad Guerrero came up together. They're best friends. They've been the face of this organization together for years. If you let Bo walk, what does that do to Vlad? You think Vlad isn't watching how the organization treats his best friend? When Vlad's extension comes up, you think he's not going to remember that Toronto chose Kyle Tucker over Bo Bichette? This stuff has ripple effects that go way beyond just the individual player you're losing. Now, let me give you the absolute worst-case scenario, and this is what keeps me up at night. The Blue Jays extend Tucker for $400 million. Bo walks and signs with Boston. 2 years into Tucker's deal, he gets hurt. Maybe it's his hamstring, maybe it's his shoulder, whatever. He misses significant time, his production drops, and suddenly that contract looks terrible. Meanwhile, Bo is tearing up the AL East for the Red Sox, making all-star teams, and helping them win division titles. Toronto is stuck with an albatross contract, no elite shortstop, and watching their former franchise player dominate them 19 times a year. That scenario is not far-fetched. That's entirely possible. And if it happens, Ross Atkins should be fired immediately. Here's another thing that bothers me. The Blue Jays are acting like they have to choose between Tucker and Bo. Like there's no other option, but there is another option. Don't trade for Tucker in the first place. Keep your prospects, extend Bo now before he hits free agency, and use the money you would have spent on Tucker to address actual needs like the bullpen. Build around the core you already have instead of blowing it up for a shinier toy. But they didn't do that. They made the Tucker trade, and now they're committed to that path, even if it means losing Bo forever. And let's be honest about what Tucker represents. He's the front office trying to save face after losing Game 7. They need to do something big to show the fans they're still committed to winning, so they go out and get a star. It's a PR move as much as it is a baseball move. But you know what would have been a better PR move? Extending Bo Bichette and keeping your homegrown star happy. That's what the fans actually want. They don't want you to trade away the future for a rental who might not even stay. They want you to build something sustainable with players they've grown attached to. Let me paint you a picture of what the next decade could look like. Bo signs with Atlanta for 10 years, $320 million. He plays alongside Ronald Acuna, and they become one of the best duos in baseball. The Braves win multiple division titles, maybe another World Series. Meanwhile, Tucker is in Toronto dealing with injuries or underperformance. The Blue Jays are mediocre, and every time they play Atlanta, it's a reminder of what could have been. That's not a hypothetical nightmare. That's a very realistic outcome based on how these situations typically play out. And here's what really gets me about this whole thing. You know, the Blue Jays had everything lined up. They had Bo and Vlad as their young core. They had a path to sustained success. All they had to do was extend their guys and build around them. Instead, they got impatient, made a huge trade, and now they're going to lose one of the best young players in baseball because they couldn't just trust the process. That's organizational failure. That's not having a coherent long-term vision. And you know what the saddest part is? In 5 years, when Bo is still in his prime producing at an elite level and Tucker is declining or hurt, everyone's going to look back on this moment and say, it was obvious that letting Bo walk was a mistake. The analytics will show it. The results will show it. But by then, it'll be too late. You can't get those years back. You can't undo the decision. Bo will have spent his prime years helping another team win championships, and Toronto will be left wondering what if. Let me ask you a direct question. Would you rather have Bo Bichette at $300 million for 10 years or Kyle Tucker at $400 million for 10 years? Because that's essentially the choice. And when you frame it that way, when you factor in age, team control, cultural fit, and cost, I think Bo is the obvious answer. But the Blue Jays are about to choose Tucker anyway because he's the bigger name right now. That's recency bias. That's not strategic thinking. Here's my final point, and this is the one that really matters. Once Bo is gone, he's gone forever. There's no getting him back. He's not going to come back in free agency 5 years from now. He's not going to force a trade back to Toronto. When he leaves, that chapter is closed permanently. And if he goes on to have the career everyone expects him to have, the Blue Jays are going to regret this decision for the next 2 decades. They're going to be the organization that let Bo Bichette walk so they could give Kyle Tucker $400 million. And when Tucker's contract becomes an albatross and Bo is still producing at an elite level, that decision is going to look even worse. The Blue Jays are about to make a franchise-altering mistake, and nobody seems to be pumping the brakes.